Welcome back to Life After Corporate, my friends. And if you're new to our show, welcome home. If you are new to entrepreneurship, if you have recently made the choice to package your expertise and put yourself out there as a business owner, a coach, a consultant, an agency owner, or some other service provider, welcome. We're happy to have you. And this is one hell of a season that you've decided to launch a business in. And so today I have a very, very special friend, my business coach, who is going to join us today. Her name is Kim Woods. Her website is kimwoods.com. Kim is an economist, a business strategist. She is the strategic oracle to visionaries who have outgrown their own success. And she holds this signature codex. We're going to ask her what that means, a sealed diagnostic that reveals reversal embedded in your platform's architecture, which sounds like a mouthful, and we're going to decode it for you. So she doesn't coach, she doesn't fix, she restores the rhythm that lets power land and stay. And what I know about Kim is she is all about power, impact, and women getting wealth. So welcome to Life After Corporate, Kim Woods.
Thank you so much, Deb. I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, this is my total jam. So I can't wait to have a conversation.
Well, there's so much that I know a little bit about you, right? So I know enough to say, oh my gosh, I want to be in your container. I want to have more of what you're serving. And we first met in an organization called the Dames,
Yeah.
which I've mentioned before on this show, a fantastic organization of women leaders, women entrepreneurs in six, seven, and eight figures. And Kim and Krista Grasso, who have also been on the show before, were on stage a year ago, almost a year ago, talking about this new era and what it was going to take. And since then, you published a book called New Era Millionaire, which is out of print. So I want to know more about you. I know you have a background that's very varied. You've been a lot of places, but what brought you to where you are today? Where did you start? What's your life after corporate story?
Yeah. So again, so yes, corporate did the whole thing, worked at Oracle, was flying around the country, closing deals for people, Mrs. Fix It, had a practice, did all the things. My son was born. And big deal. We women have children and whatever, but he was on the spectrum. And so there was a diagnostic happening with him that intuitively I knew if I just go back to the way things were, we're going to have a whole different life. He's going to have a whole different trajectory than if I take the time and really figure this out. And I met obviously lots about Western medicine, but Eastern practices. And it was the combination of the two that made a totally different trajectory for me. And once the East and intuition and spirituality and all the magical gifts got a hold of me, there was no letting go. And so it is a meandering path, as it is for most people. But it led me to the place knowing without a doubt that the internal power mechanisms, that your intuitive wisdom, that your heart and soul are really leading the charge, and our mind just pretend that they're in the driver's seat.
It's so true, right? And in many ways you have to kind of get out of the corporate walls to even open up to see that, because corporate just rewards the analytical, the brain, the masculine energies, the get shit done, and the feminine tends to be more intuitive. So tell us just a little bit. I know you go deep in the book about masculine versus feminine, but what are the masculine and feminine energies? And when people make this transition from corporate to entrepreneurship, it is an identity shift and they have to lean into a different aspect of themselves.
Absolutely. So we've been masculine, right? Like we've been taught like the straight line, the logic, the next goal, the achievement, that defensive stance, that competitive mindset, right? That ever approving to the ends of the earth. I mean, think of the growers that you have to have quarter over quarter when you're a public company. It's ridiculous, right? And so that's what we're all ingrained with. Well, for feminine energy, it doesn't matter gender. For feminine energy, there's breath, there's space, there's wisdom that you can tap into when you get a hot minute to take a step back and look at something. Strategy is feminine, by the way, right? Interviewing people is feminine, by the way. Having difficult conversations. Oh, by the way, what? Feminine. And when you think about it, I was in corporate and then I trained corporate people for a million years, right? And I always would go in and say, you have three hot buttons. You have strategy, you have interviewing and you have difficult conversations. And I didn't go to the extent that I do now, but those are all feminine energies first. And then the masculine comes up and brings it up. The other things, selling, goal orientation, any of the other activities, those are more masculine. And so when you look at it, just I've did made it really super practical, right? And when you look at it like that, you say, wow, you know what? No matter what you're doing in business, corporate still, thinking beyond corporate, definitely stepped out of corporate and are stepping into you. There are things and gifts and talents that you have that you may not have tapped into, or even worse, been trained out of.
Yes, yes. So how do we do this reclamation or you call reversal?
Yeah.
What this reversal really is. So explain that to us because I know it caused me pause when I saw those words. I was like, reversal? We talking about Mercury in retrograde?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Okay. Yes. Yes, but no. So what it means is when you come to that point with yourself when you know things aren't working anymore, right? So the reality is they happened before that. You reached your tipping point. Maybe you said, this boss is terrible and I haven't gotten that promotion. I've been overlooked. Or, wow, I work 70 hours a week. And guess what? After taxes, it doesn't really make that much sense. Or you're in entrepreneurship and you're like, you know what? I just keep hitting a limit and I don't know why. The reality is the reversal point happened earlier. Your mind has just caught up. So what I do is I work with people to, yes, we deal with, it's really the symptoms. We deal with the symptoms. Yes, you didn't get the promotion or you didn't, you're not getting the clients that you want. But I go to the origin point of that. And there was something that it could have been 3 months earlier, 5 months earlier, 10 years earlier that you actually hit that point and we want to reverse it. Because once we reverse that internal mechanism for you, and it usually goes with hand in hand with your power. So I can have a conversation all day long about power. And once we hit it, then we say, oh yes. And then here's that repeated pattern. And it's not a mindset thing to just affirm your way out of. It's an actual routine habit, promise to yourself, healing facilitation that then relieves it and removes it.
And that's the underestimated journey in entrepreneurship that most people don't even consider is that you have an identity that you built up in corporate. There are reward systems and values. And when you step out of that, it's almost like the ground beneath your feet has been removed. And now you're just floating out there and you don't know where to land. And there's weird things going on in your head, self judgment. And it really is a reclamation and recreation of a new identity. Um, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Entrepreneurship is no joke, right? So we know that and we can be cheeky about it and say, oh, entrepreneurship is no joke. And yet I remember for me when my son was born, he's, an infant, I know I'm not going back to Oracle. I know this, right? I have no idea what the next thing was. And I remember talking to my son, he's a baby, and I remember saying, like, dancing with his feet, like, mommy's making no money now. I pick up the phone and no one answers because I had stature. I would walk into a room and I was usually the, most powerful person in the room. I would pick up the phone. Weirdly, the Oracle, like your employee number gives everybody a huge indication of when you joined. I was in the 8,000s. I was really early there, right? So people would know that, oh my goodness, we're going to pick up the phone. Or my title. Oh my goodness, we're going to pick up the phone. Your title is gone, your salary is gone. Every piece of infrastructure is gone. So yes, you are whole cloth reinventing yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also that's where the intuition has to come in, right? So let's
Mhm.
talk about um the difference between intuition and insight, and you say intuition versus infrastructure,
Yeah.
right? So while we rely on the goals coming down from the holy gods at the top, and where we have our remit, we know how we're being measured, and we're marshaling our teams and our forces to go and attack that hill. Once you leave corporate, it's you and you. And, no matter how good your strategy is, um, without intuitive relying on your intuition, like how do you do that? How do you make that shift from, mindset to that internal like gut reaction, that gut knowing, or that listening to your internal voice?
Absolutely. You're in an echo chamber of one, right? And so when you're really goal oriented, you can rely on your experience first, right? Like let's just do a really easy scaffolding from I my mind is running amok to I want to tap into my intuition. Yes, there is that process of slowing down your mind, but I'll be honest with you, you have high performing people listening to this podcast, right? And
Yeah.
they're going to just, commit Harry Carry if I say, go like do a lotus position and meditate for 25 minutes every day. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to respect them more than that. You do, however, want to give your body the ability to catch up with your mind, right? So some people will say go out to walk in nature, do yoga or whatever, but really the breath does that. So when you are in this echo chamber of one and you start your day and you're saying, okay, I'm gonna hit it this day, I'm gonna get a client this day, or whatever it is, right? And you have it either set up or you don't set up, you want to get yourself ready for that. And one of the ways to do that is to take a breath or three. And once you do that, now your body and your mind and your heart, everything's aligning. Then you can observe. I'm giving very active, things here for your mind. You can observe, okay, as I'm thinking about getting that client or, pitching this or doing this PR performance or doing a podcast interview or whatever's coming up for you in that day, I'm giving it to you on the daily because it daily matters, they add up. Then you can say, okay, what do I observe about myself when I go to a podcast interview and I'm prepared versus not prepared? What do I observe about myself when I take the time to listen without thinking about what my next answer is going to be? What do I observe about the host and what kind of hosts I really adore, right? When you give yourself, now you're giving yourself, your brain and your mind more space to be receiving. That's the first step in intuition. Then
Yeah.
now when you're receiving, now you can say, okay, based on my experiences, and my observations. What do I then perceive? That's a little bit of a projection. As you look beyond that day and that one interview, you can say, now I can perceive that this type of conversation for half an hour is really good for me. The 3 minute one isn't, or vice versa. Or reels are really good, or they're not, right? Like you can start stringing some things together. Now, I haven't forgotten we're talking about intuition, right? I'm now still going on experience. But as you get more confidence about your own experiences, and how you actually either align or misalign with them. That is giving you so much information because, Deborah, we've been gaslit. We are gaslit by our own minds. We are by our corporation, by the things we've learned, by the suits we've had to wear, like literally and figuratively. I mean,
Mhm.
so for us, we have to shed those things. We have to be kind to ourselves. We have to give ourselves space, and we have to give us the echo chamber of good responses versus automatic reactions that we've really been conditioned to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's judgment and resistance and all these things that maybe you've never noticed before. And I love my mother-in-law, may her soul rest in peace. She always said, wherever you go, there you are.
Yes.
And it's so true. So whatever conditioning that you had in childhood, and certainly we know that corporate instills other conditioning or reinforces that same conditioning. I mean, for those of us who have worthiness wounds, trying to be good enough and achieve enough, they love us in corporate because we're always trying to do more, do better. But those types of things also have a dark side, which is judgment and self judgment. So I love what you said about breathing in the spaciousness and noticing and just saying, isn't this interesting? Just being curious.
Yeah, different point of view. That's an
Mhm.
interesting point of view. Now if you want to extend it, you can start journaling, you can start pulling oracle cards, you can start like leave a book and let it fall open and see what comes in for you. Take a walk out in nature and let the sun shine on your face and say, take a deep breath and say, I'm amazing. Right? Think about it. I've had the bravery to start my own thing. I mean, first of all, you're a little crazy. Welcome to
Shut
the
the
crazy.
door.
Just welcome to the crazy. You're in good company, right? That's first thing. And then the second thing is you're continuing, right? Regardless of the judgment of any self-recrimination, of any reconditioning, of any validation you're no longer getting. That's the other thing. Entrepreneurship is an isolating circumstance. People don't really talk about that, and because of that, there is a breath where you're like, oh, thank goodness I don't have 37 voicemails or texts or whatever it is now, right? But you don't have 37 voicemails or texts or
Mhm.
whatnot. all of a sudden the silence is you know amplified to the nth degree, and we tend to fill in silence. And what I'm saying is don't fill in the silence. See what comes to you, because it will be much more magical than when you try to fill it in.
So let's talk about intuition as infrastructure. What do
Yes.
you mean by that?
What I mean by that is it being a tool that you use on the regular in your business. Now, what I just gave, the reason why I gave a daily, example of it was because most of us will think, and this is what happens. I went to a retreat and I was in a guided meditation. People don't say guided meditation; it's fine. And I got the download that I am going to heal the world and I'm going to open up a retreat center. Yes, that's the one I hear about most often, right? So I can go into people's energy and say whether that's yes or no, right? That's a magical gift I have. But for you not knowing, what you want to then do is say, okay, that was a point in time and you were led by someone else. Your expectation, you're being set up to fail, because your expectation of that happening for you is probably not going to be the same when you're on your own and you're thinking about the food list you have to make and the emails you have to answer, and you're saying, I want another epiphany, right? So we don't chase the epiphanies. That's not infrastructure based, right? Like, so every once in a while we'll get a beautiful piece of information, but most times we're going to be doing things in the baby steps. So when you're using intuition as a tool, first of all, you're going to rely on your instinct, right? And we can even go through how to do that, if you
Mhm.
want to. Then we're going to start building the muscle of the intuition, and we're going to do it with small things that are not of a massive impact, where you're not going to be expending $50,000 and taking 6 months, right? With that, you're going to be saying, okay, little tiny steps, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get the feedback. You're going to experiment. You're going to play. I'm going to get the feedback. Was that right? Was that wrong? What I thought about this person, and in this group or in a program with me, is it true? Was my intuition right? Yes or no, without judgment. And as you string those things together, you can then start using intuition, yes, for strategy over time, but for decision making. You can use it for when, like in conversation, when to say something, when not to say something. You can use it energetically to say, I'm going to use my energy before I go into this space. Like, I raise the rooms that I go into because I put my energy out there first and then I walk into the room. So I've already gotten there. So now I'm just having a handshake with people and they're like, I remember you. Like, yeah, I know. Because I've been here. I've been here for 20 minutes. Right. I mean, I use it constantly. I use it to channel. I use it to, all my work is based on that. That for me is an infrastructure, both with building my own business, but also serving my clients. You don't have to do both, but you certainly want it as a tool. You want it to be one of your best advisors.
Yeah. So how do you do it? How do you build it?
How do
When you don't have a blueprint to follow, right? And almost the purpose of intuition is not having a blueprint to follow.
I know.
So how do you do it?
Yeah. So first thing, you have to say yes to it. So when I said we were being gaslit, right? We have we have conditioned ourselves not to use it. Whenever we have met somebody and we've said, wow, they're just really not whatever. They're not truthful, they're not honest, they're not transparent, whatever that is. But yet somebody made us work with them anyway. Right. Or you get into an elevator and you're like, yeah, you know what? I don't really want to be on this right now. But you just talk yourself into it. I mean, these are very relatively mundane things, but we've been saying no to our intuition for decades. So the first thing is to say yes to it, and say yes and say, I wonder. That's a great thing. Not I know, but I wonder. I wonder what it would be like to do a podcast interview with Deb, right? I wonder
Mhm.
that. I can go in, if it's my millionth podcast, I'm probably not going to ask any more questions. But if it isn't, and it's something new, we're talking about new things. I wonder. And you can set yourself up. I wonder what it's going to be like, and then really give yourself time to suppose about that. Is it going to be conversational? Is she going to be hardcore? Does she have regular questions? Right. And as your instinct has gone in with that and you're wondering about that, then see if it comes back and it's true. And then if it is, you're like, wow, I actually have a little bit of intuition here. That's really interesting. And then if it's not, you can say, okay, maybe people and circumstance isn't my thing. Because we all have different flavors of intuition. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's around people. Sometimes it's around the energy in a place. Sometimes it's around getting answers. Sometimes it's asking the right question.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
so how does this so this these are little things we play with, right? And we all have experienced that telepathy moment where we think about someone and they call us,
Yep.
or, it happens all the time. Um, how do we take that and then put it into practice in a business sense? Like,
Yeah.
how do we apply that to our business too? Is this the right client? Is this the right offer? Is this the right price? Is this the right room to be in?
Yeah.
Without all the shoulds, because right? So then scarcity comes in and says, "Well, the bank account is low. I don't really like this person, but I'm gonna make an offer because I want their money."
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing. That's really looking at yourself and being honest. The biggest thing is being honest with yourself. Like being able to admit that life is an experiment, business is an experiment, and you want to play with it, right? So I'm not trying to lighten it for other reasons other than to get your mind to accept that it's okay to make a wrong decision because it's learning for you. So the first thing, again, when I talked about strategy and I talked about interviewing and I talked about difficult conversations, think about sales. They're all of that, all wrapped in
Mhm.
one, right? So as if you do sales calls and that happens to be the flow in your sales cycle, then really take the time to tap in, and instead of only, because I hear this all the time, act as if or be the avatar you want to be or whatever it is, make the sale. It's like, ask yourself, do you want the sale? I mean, I had a woman last week that I thought, I mean, she, in all the sense of purposes, she would have been, oh my God. I was like, I'm going to shoot myself in the face if she becomes a client. Right. like, like she was so incredibly like just showed up like a force, right? Like wow. And I was like, okay, so I tend to take a step back in that way. I tend to get into massive listening mode. I have quieted my energy to a point that it's just like I let all of her energy do what it's going to do. And then I asked myself and I was like, hell no. Right.
Mhm.
And so I beautifully gave her all this advice. I beautifully sent her on her way. So, do people actually give themselves permission to show up the way they want to show up and to really listen and then to ask themselves if they want it?
Yeah, that's so important. So I'm gonna switch directions a little bit
Okay.
because I know that we are in a season right now.
Hmm.
We are in a season, most of my clients are either consultants or coaches. Coaching has increased 60% over the past 3 or 4 years.
Hmm.
Consulting is up like 30%. Women are leaving corporate in droves, many of their own volition, because I just can't take this anymore. There are things in
Yeah.
my life that I value more than selling my soul for this company. And we also know, so therefore it's really crowded. So you're
Yep.
entering a space where it's really noisy, it's really confusing. There's also a lot of clients who have bought a lot of things and didn't get a lot of value. So there's a trust recession. So the trust is at an all-time low, skepticism's at an all-time high. Everyone is saying be authentic. What do we do?
Yeah. 100%. So what I would love to invite you to do, and the only thing that's going to work is for you to be 100% you. To you to be more of yourself and to be passionate about, you've heard me say this, Deb, what you can't shut up about, like what you just like, oh my God, I have to talk about this. I'm so full of this. This is my why. This is who I am. This is what I am meant to be doing. Right. So there's a calling element in that, right? That's one thing. The another thing is really own yourself. If you are the type of person that loves to go online and loves to do reels and loves to do video and wants to be on YouTube, then go do that. If you are a person that doesn't want to do that, that doesn't get themselves in a 30-second reel, hello, Kim, or whatever, please don't do that because it is so noisy. So everybody says, pick a platform, pick a space. I'm even going to go one step further. Pick a room, right? What is your room? Is your room big and a big, huge stage with a microphone and bright lights? Is your room a fireside chat with one person having a yummy conversation? Is your room writing and it's a library and it's filled with books? Figure out what your room is, find your rooms, and do business that way. That is what's going to work.
Yeah. And I want to talk about coming out of the closet and bringing all of
Hmm.
you to the table.
Yep.
So I am noticing that everyone has been spiritual behind the scenes.
Hmm.
And we haven't even brought out your entire spiritual side. I mean, your podcast is the Strategic Oracle. You are an astrologist. You're a channeler. You probably have more spiritual skills than I'm even aware of at this point in time.
Hmm.
But what was that decision point for you when you decided that I can't just be a business strategist? I can't just be a leadership expert. I have to bring, like you said, all of me to the table, the things that light me up. Like, how did you do that? And you do it so well and so boldly. And what shifted for you once you did?
Okay, first of all, everything shifted for the positive once I did, right? So I was in this really big resistant, like hitting upper levels. People would say, leave the woo at home, Kim. We just want your strategist brain, right? I would get the side eye walking into a room. I live in Boston. I mean, yes, we can say Salem witches is a cute thing, but really, then you walk in a business strategist and you give me all the answers. Now you're saying an astrologer, like, please, right? So I had to overcome my unwillingness and the feedback loop that I was getting at the time. I had to say, I don't care. I had to say, you know what? I'm going to say the word tarot, or I'm going to say the word the Mercury retrograde, or whatever it was. I'm going to make myself say it, and I had to make myself say it. Why was it so hard? Well, let's be perfectly clear. We've been conditioned that it's not okay. We've been told that people don't want to do business with you if you're too feminine, or you're too woo, or you're too much, or whatever it is, right? There's been no proving ground for intuition, and at the most case, and most people that do spirituality charge $5. And then they say all the courses that they've taken. I have this certification, I have that certification, whatever. So there's just a big wide sweeping, how doesn't it work, right? So for me, because I'm an astrologer, I didn't know pandemic, but I knew we were going to have a drop off the cliff in March of 2020. And I was watching it come for a decade, and it was as catastrophic as I thought it was going to be. And so for me, it ended up working out because I had already come out of the closet. I had already said yes to myself. I had hired a publicist to do it. I do not recommend that to anybody. It was
Okay.
$10,000 a month. No, it was $10,000 a month. It was terrifying. And I had to do like live interviews and on live TV, ABC, whatnot. It gave me the ability to do it, but it would be like hell for 3 hours before that and probably 4 days before that. So we'll do it kinder than that, but there are more of us out here now, so
Mhm.
you get more acceptance. But for you to say yes to what your true gifts are, there's going to be two things that happen. Number one, your soul is not going to stop talking to you, and it could be someone you meet, a conversation you have, a book that falls off the shelf, like just that kind of hit you get in the shower where you're like, oh yeah, I really have to start talking about the fact I love crystals, or the fact that I can read energy, or the fact of, whatever that is. I really need to start talking about it. So that's going to get louder. The more you repress it, the less you're going to have success. That's a guarantee, by the way. The more you suppress yourself, the less success you're going to have. Of that, I'm 100% sure. And I have tons of statistics on that, and anecdotal and otherwise. Um, but once you start getting in the flow for you, you're going to just feel alive in a way that you haven't felt alive in a while. You're going to be excited about things. You're going to feel so lucky to be able to do this work. And who's ever sitting in front of you is going to start saying, wow, I can't believe that I just experienced that. Like I say to people, I do magic seats, right? And what that means is I go into your Akashic records, or I go in and do some healing, and there's 10 or 12 people in the room, and everybody looks like this, Deborah. Right. And like, so, and that's beautiful. And what am I doing? I'm channeling whatever needs to happen for that person in exactly the right time of exactly what they need. That's my gift. That's what I do. And for the person, they get exactly, and they get to take it, and I can teach them how to implement it if they need that, and integrate it. And then off they go, and they become more of themselves to be able to impact the world in a much better way.
Yeah. And, it's no longer something that we can hide in this era that we're in. It's like you have to bring all of you to the table. And I'm navigating this too. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing a year ago when I brought my clients to Sedona for a retreat. I knew we wanted to be in the vortex. We wanted to feel the energy. They wanted to go hiking and see all the things. And I had a energize an experience that altered my energy, like,
Mhm.
forever, in a chakra balancing massage that where things were released, there were tears, there was energy all over the place, I didn't know what to do with, it was hard to engage, and then, came into this retreat with Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I've talked about before, and then crystals started calling me, like, "What am I doing? What am I doing with crystals?" But suddenly I need to put them into formation because then I watched a show, so this is like intuition, right? I watched a show on crystals because I had COVID and I was in bed and I had just gotten back from the spiritual retreat. So, and I love pretty things. And so it worked. And then I watched a show called Ancient Civilizations. And then there was sacred geometry. And I was like, oh, crystals and sacred geometry and the shapes, they work together and they produce these energy fields. And I started building them for myself. And then other people said, oh, wow, that's so cool. Will you make one for me? And I said, sure. What's your, intention? So this is how it goes. This is how it rolls. And so now we're figuring it all out. But we had clients make crystal grids on retreat
I
last
love it.
weekend,
I love it.
and I held a 30-minute meditation every morning that was guided and asked people about their experience. Now, back 5 years ago, that would have felt really, really uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But this is what will distinguish you, me, anyone from every other strategist, coach, person out there who's available to guide them. So let's talk about why this is so important in this new era that you wrote about in the book.
Yeah, so we've all been feeling it, right? Like you can talk about there are things that are happening like AI and the Great Reshuffle 2.0 and those types of things. But when we look under the cover, let's go to the reversal, right? When we look under the covers of that, it didn't start just in 2020. It started way before that, but in 2020 is that reversal point. There was a star configuration that happened that was known as the 800-year star, and honestly that was the heralding of this new era, of this new time. And just think about the people that you now can talk to that are talking about human design, that are talking about astrology on the upswing, right? That talk about intuition now, that talk about crystals, or they talk about the moon, and they talk about the sun, or there's probably 100 other things. Red light therapy, your chakra system, like you can talk about it on a variety of stages. We are in a place, in a point in time where that feminine, kind of, and I'm going to use the word faith, not in the religious content, but like in the unknown, unseen, unproven type way. It's the art of science. You can look at science and say quantum physics and the quantum leap and nanotechnology. The theory of relativity is finally, people finally wrapping their brains around that, right? All of these things have come into a convergence where the trajectory of humankind is moving towards this for at the least amount 20 years and probably for 400 years. And so it's becoming more accepted. And so if you are denying your own gifts that you can use, oh, by the way, that are free, that are powerful, that are unique and differentiating and brilliant, I don't think that that's going to be beneficial to you to ignore all those and to repress those and then to go follow somebody else's method.
Yes, the death to following someone else's method. Amen to that. And, I won't go off on a riff of business coaches who are regurgitating other people's methodologies, but I want to talk about why some people are experiencing in this time frame that we're in that their strategies that used to work are no longer working, and how to use everything that we've been talking about up until this point, which is your intuition, your resonance, your ability to perceive and act accordingly. What do we do now? So, complex lead funnels are dead. um you
Thank
know
goodness.
Thank goodness, the bro marketers, the one-time offers for just $47 you can have this, and if you buy this for 47 for 99 you can have this. And so that era is over, and now we need to rebuild the trust and show up authentically. So what do we do when we hit this wall? And I know many people have hit this wall where what I've been doing for the past 4 years has just stopped working.
100%. So here's the reality with this too. It's all about connections. So when you think about it, it's connecting more with yourself. And so connect with yourself every single morning. If you're finding my numbers are down, people aren't listening, they're not looking, they're not responding the way they used to, you want to go inward instead of outward. I know that seems counterintuitive, but you absolutely want to go inward. And the biggest question you want to ask yourself is, what do I want to do? Now, that is also what people in success will say no, because they'll say, what do your clients want? That's also true, but it has to start with you. You are your own client. So if you are doing something that goes, wah, 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 how are you going to excite anybody else for it? You're just not going to. So we want to reorient you. And then we do want to say, okay, who is my favorite, most delicious work that I do? What I can't stop thinking about. I was just talking to a dear person who's become, she was in a group with me, but now we've become friends. And she was just saying, I miss teaching. She's like, everybody's telling you to do a license program. She's like, but I miss teaching. I'm like, then you need to teach because that's who you are. You had a school for 20 years. How are you saying no to that right now? So this is what the energy is doing right now. It's so crowded. It's reminding us of what we really want and what we really are passionate about. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, yeah, what do your clients need? And then I'm going to say it again. Make the connections, have the conversations, be in the rooms with those people that are going to respond positively to you. It's all about relationship going forward.
It is all about relationship going forward. And what that means to me too is a little bit more precision
Hmm.
in the things that we're doing. So if webinars and workshops were your thing, so what I'm doing in my business and what I'm guiding clients to is we want to make sure that there's a big return on effort. And so we just don't slap things out there. The precision is, and I'm sure there's something in the stars that's happening that's requiring this precision. You can tell us all about that, but it's like making sure that we're doing all the things before the event happens to ensure that it's going to be a great event, that the right people are going to be in the room, right from the intention and visualization. I mean, there's a game I play with every masterclass I host, and it's like, how many people do I want to sign up? And I pick a number, and inevitably every single time that number of people signs up for that event.
Hmm.
And then it's like, well, how do I welcome them before they even get in the room? And then how do I remind them where to be when? Like all these little details. And I was talking to a client yesterday, just quick story. She said, I did this talk for 60 people and no one signed up. And I said, well, did you connect with everybody one on one personally that signed up for that event? Oh no. So it's like the follow up too.
Hmm.
Everything needs to be precise and it's all about the relationship, not link slapping, not spamming, not getting people into your funnel, but creating real relationships.
Exactly, 100%. And so I always say it's a longer lead in and a longer tail. So
Okay.
these 6 figure, 7 figure launches, they can still happen, but they don't happen on the regular anymore. Too
Right.
many people have bought things that they didn't use or bought things that weren't theirs. And you're right. You said trust, recession, and that's exactly right. How are people going to trust you when you show up? Right? So in my group today, we're doing all about a visibility playbook, right? And one of the things is you show up for yourself, but you show up as yourself. I've disclosed I'm a great opener, I'm a great closer. I am not a great nurturer. I have 3 people on my team now that are doing that, helping me, and we're building the process, and they're being themselves. Oh, I work with Kim. Here we go. Oh, I'm Kim's assistant. Oh, I'm Kim's coordinator. So they know it's not me. We're not pretending anymore because that doesn't work anymore either. Thank
Right.
goodness, right? Because again, it's trust. Oh, that's great. Kim left you here. I'm going to help you get to the next step. Oh, Kim's over here now. Perfect.
Yeah, love that. So we're almost out of time, and I know you said something about a closing signal to help us reclaim authority without diluting our value. So
Yeah.
what is that?
Yeah. So can I just go into a quick, like 1 minute ritual? Would you be
Yes.
okay to
Oh
do
my
that?
God, I
Okay.
love this.
Okay. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. But if you're not driving, go ahead and put one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. And I would love you, if you want to do a soft gaze or close your eyes, just take a deep breath in, just a beautiful inhale and an exhale to just kind of release anything. Take another beautiful inhale. And on that inhale, I would like you to say to yourself, I am powerful. And I am an original. And then ask the question, I wonder what my next passion looks like, who it's going to be, how it's going to be, how am I going to feel with that? And just breathe that in and welcome with that wondrous mind and an open heart and an activated will to the yes. Yes to you. Yes to your power. Yes to your originality. And yes to your passion. And then open your eyes and breathe in and welcome it into your space, because you're welcoming you, but you're also welcoming your success.
Kim, I'm so glad I get to be in the container in a few short minutes. Thank you so much. And my friends, if you got value out of this episode, if you saw something different about how you could be showing up in this season that we are in, or if you found value from some of the words or some of the beautiful practices that Kim has led us through, post it below this video and share with friends. Kim also has a podcast. It's called The Strategic Oracle. I never miss an episode. And I can't say that about many podcasts, but sometimes I listen twice. I might listen in the shower and then I might listen again and take notes. They're short, they're packed with information and inspiration. So catch your show. Kim, is there any other route that people can get to you?
Yeah, definitely. If you want to see what I'm about, go to meetkimwoods.com. If you want to, hook up with me on LinkedIn, please reach out. I've got a beautiful newsletter there. We're always posting. We're always reaching out to people. And that's probably the way to get me online, because I'm not so much an Insta girl. Big surprise, right? So do what you love, right? And do it well.
Yeah, that makes two of us. And there's also an amazing quiz on Kim's site, and it's called Your Intuitive Success Signature. And I want everyone to take it, because once you know what your internal operating system is and you start tuning in to those podcast episodes, you get so much more additional insight. And hands down, entrepreneurship is a spiritual journey, and it is a journey of becoming who you truly are. And so thank you for leading us today, Kim. So appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Deb. I loved our conversation.
All right, that's it for now, my friends. Entrepreneurship is a spiritual journey. You are becoming your true self. And the more you step into and embrace who you truly are and let that out, no matter how uncomfortable it is, the more you're going to resonate and attract the people who are meant to work with you. That's it for now. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.